The money in your pocket has a body count. Cattle, seashells, silver, paper, all of them were money once, and all of them are dead. These are the monies that built 5,000 years of history, and how every one of them broke. Your mission sounds simple. Travel through 5,000 years of history and buy one meal at every stop. Just lunch. But every era pays in a different money, and every one is a trap. You start with nothing but the cash in your pocket. Decorative paper in Babylon, poor quality kindling in Imperial China. And at the very last stop, on a Pacific island, waits the most extreme money ever made. A stone disc 12 feet across, weighing 4 tons. Money too heavy to move, and it hides the secret behind everything else on this list. Hold on to one number for the road: 10 billion. That's how many seashells it takes to kill one of these currencies. So, you're broke, you're starving, and it's 4,000 years ago. What would you do? Stop 1 of 8. Mesopotamia. You're a Mesopotamian farmer, and you're hungry. School told you what happens next. Before money, people bartered. Except historians have a problem. They can't find it. The Cambridge anthropologist Caroline Humphrey went looking in 1985 and put it flatly: no pure barter economy has ever been described anywhere. The barter village was canonized by Adam Smith in 1776, and textbooks have repeated it ever since. Real villages ran on memory instead: favors, obligations, tabs. Your lunch goes on the tab, and the clay tablets are suggestive. The oldest known word for freedom, the Sumerian amagi from around 2400 BC, meant release from debt. Freedom, literally, was a wiped slate. When people needed to measure wealth, they pointed at the pasture. Cattle. The Latin for money, pecunia, comes from pecus, livestock. In Homer's Iliad, a suit of bronze armor is worth 9 oxen. The gold one, 100. The problem cattle solved. A standard of value everyone respects. The fatal flaw: nobody makes change for a cow. Your unit of wealth eats, wanders, and dies. Down in Babylon, they're already weighing something better. Stop 2 of 8. Babylon, around 1750 BC. Under the laws of King Hammurabi, and money fits in your hand. It's silver. Not coins. Coins won't exist for another 1,000 years. Just metal, valued purely by weight. The unit is the shekel, about 8.4 grams of silver. The word literally means to weigh. Hammurabi's code prices the world in silver and grain. Grain for farmhands, silver for surgeons. The problem solved. Silver doesn't die, doesn't rot, and divides into any amount. The flaw: every purchase is a science experiment, because anyone can mix in cheap metal. Your merchant weighs, tests, snips, and weighs again before handing over your bowl of stew. Buying dinner requires scales and organized distrust, unless somebody powerful stamped the metal in advance and guaranteed it. Someone will, but first, a detour, because the next money washes up on a beach. Stop 3 of 8. Shang Dynasty China, around 1300 BC, and your money is small, glossy, and from the ocean. A cowrie shell. Treasure first, money soon after. Don't laugh. Cowries may be the most successful money ever, used across Asia and Africa for 3,000 years. Durable, uniform, easy to count, hard to fake, and a handful buys your bowl of millet. No scales required. China loved them so deeply that the cowrie became its written symbol for value itself. To this day, the shell hides inside the Chinese words for buy, sell, expensive, and poor. The problem solved. Money that's portable, countable, and identical. The flaw: shells can't be counterfeited, but they can be fished. Whoever controls the supply controls the value. Here comes your number. Between 1700 and 1875, By historians' estimates, European traders shipped over 10 billion shells into West Africa, where cowries were serious money, much of it grimly to buy human beings in the slave trade. Flooded with imports, the currency slowly drowned. A money you can scoop off a beach dies of abundance. And your weighing problem? A king is about to weigh the silver for you once and stamp a lion on it. Stop 4 of 8. Sardis, capital of Lydia, around 600 BC. King Aliata's mint takes electrum, a natural blend of gold and silver said to wash down from the river Pactolus, and stamps every lump with a lion's head. The stamp is a royal guarantee. This weight, this purity. No scales, no snipping. These are the first true coins. Although analyses show the king's coins hold less gold than the local natural alloy. Standardization, or the world's first hidden fee. Scholars still argue. Money is 1 minute old and already suspicious. Aliata's son Croesus, yes, rich as Croesus, upgrades to pure gold and pure silver coins. The blueprint for most money since. Rome industrializes the idea. From 211 BC, the silver denarius, nearly pure, powers an empire for over 4 centuries. And no, Roman soldiers were not paid in salt. The salary legend traces to a dictionary from the 1700s. The flaw, a stamp is a promise, and promises have owners. The coin dies by the hand that made it. Nero trims the silver in 64 AD. His successors trim harder. By the 270s, what passes for Rome's silver coin is barely 5% silver, a bronze core wearing a thin silver coat that rubs off between your fingers. Prices explode. In 301, Emperor Diocletian tries to cap them by decree and fails. If metal can lie, why keep the metal? China asks exactly that. Stop 5 of 8. Chengdu, around the year 1000, and your money problem is back pain. Your region runs on iron coins. 1,000 of them weighs over 30 pounds, and silk costs more iron than you can carry. So Chengdu's merchants do something outrageous. They leave the coins in vaults and trade paper receipts instead. This is the jiaozi, the first paper money on earth, invented not by an emperor but by shopkeepers with sore shoulders. In 1024, the Song government takes over and prints the first official state paper currency in history. Around 1298, Marco Polo devotes an entire chapter to it. Mulberry bark money, stamped with a vermilion imperial seal, refusal punishable by death. Back home, Europeans assume he's lying. The problem solved. Money that weighs nothing, guaranteed by the state. The flaw, printing is easy, horribly easy. The Yuan dynasty makes paper the only legal money, then prints it to fund its wars. The supply balloons from under 2 million units to over 170 million by its collapse in 1368. Lifetime savings turn to wallpaper, and ordinary people quietly go back to swapping goods. Barter observed at last, not at money's birth, but at its funeral. Europe won't dare touch paper for centuries, and the first European who does will be sentenced to death. But before the banknote, Europe has to reinvent the bank. Stop 6 of 8. You're a pilgrim leaving London around 1150, and your problem is robbery. The fix is new. Hand your money to the Knights Templar, take a letter of credit, and withdraw when you reach Jerusalem. Steal the letter, and you've stolen nothing. Banking has arrived in Europe. From 1397, the Medici of Florence built an empire on this kind of clever paperwork. But the banknote is born in a goldsmith's shop. In 1600s London, goldsmiths guard your gold and issue receipts payable not just to you, but to whoever holds the paper, and whoever holds the paper owns the gold. The receipts start circulating as money. Then goldsmiths notice depositors rarely all show up at once. so they lend the gold they're promising. Modern banking in one sentence. The floor arrives on schedule. In 1661, Stockholm's Banco prints Europe's first banknotes, a mercy, since Swedish copper plate money weighed up to 43 pounds apiece. Its founder, Johann Palmstruch, prints too many. The bank collapses, and there is your promised death sentence, commuted in the end to prison. In 1694, the Bank of England is founded on a £1.2 million war loan to the king. Its notes still promise to pay the bearer on demand. Promise. There's that word again. So the nations of the world chained the promise to something eternal. Gold. Gold surely can't lie. Can it? Stop 7 of 8. London, 1821, and money finally feels solid. Britain has formally bound its currency to gold, the first nation to do so, and across the century, the world follows. The first truly global money system. Paper circulates. Gold vouches for it. Surely the story ends here. It does not. A gold guarantee is still a promise. In 1925, Churchill re-anchors the pound at its pre-war rate against the economist Keynes's advice, a call he reportedly came to rank among the greatest mistakes of his life. The overvalued pound strangles exports, and in 1931, Britain drops gold forever. In April 1933, President Roosevelt orders Americans to surrender their gold at $20.67 an ounce, under threat of prison, by executive order. Months later, gold is repriced at $35, cutting the dollar's gold value by about 40%. In July 1944, at Bretton Woods, 44 nations rebuild world money around the dollar, $35 to an ounce of gold. Every currency pegged to the dollar, and gold itself retired to vaults. Then, on Sunday evening, August 15th, 1971, President Nixon announces on television that the dollar's link to gold is suspended, temporarily. The window never reopens. Since that night, for the first time in 5,000 years, the money of the world runs on nothing you can touch. That should be impossible. One small island had already proved it isn't. Last stop, stop 8 of 8, the island of Yap in the Pacific. Remember the 4-ton stone? Yap's traditional money, the Rai, is a limestone disc quarried on Palau, 250 miles across open ocean. The largest are 12 feet across, far too heavy to move, so nobody moves them. When a stone changes owners, the village simply agrees out loud that it has. The stone stays put. The money is the memory. Generations ago, a magnificent stone sank in a storm on the voyage home, never to be seen again. The islanders decided it didn't matter. Everyone knew it existed and who owned it, and that family stayed wealthy, trading a rock at the bottom of the sea. After Germany bought the island in 1899, its colonial officials wanted roads repaired and found the perfect find. Black crosses painted on the most valuable stones, claimed for the government. The islanders, suddenly poorer, fixed the roads. The crosses were washed off. The wealth returned. Nothing moved but paint. The economist Milton Friedman loved this story because in 1932 he noted, "The Bank of France asked New York's Federal Reserve for its gold, and Clark simply moved the ingots into a different drawer with a French label on it." Headlines announced America was losing its gold. Nothing had moved but the label. That is the twist of the whole journey and the answer to the body count. Cattle, shells, silver, coins, paper, gold, none of it ever had value in itself. A cow is money only if your neighbor wants cattle, gold only while everyone nods. Every currency in history has been the sunken stone, real exactly as long as people believed in it, and not 1 second longer. Money is the story, Everyone agrees to keep telling. Every form on this list died the day its story stopped being believed. The bill in your pocket runs on the same story, still being told. And when the story breaks, you wake up in Germany, 1923, with 1 million marks in your pocket, and the bakery wants 200 billion for a loaf of bread. That story is next. Subscribe and bring a wheelbarrow.